Iron Man 3 is a 2013 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character Iron Man, produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures. It is the sequel to Iron Man, 2008, and Iron Man 2, 2010, and the seventh film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU. The film was directed by Shane Black from a screenplay he co-wrote with Drew Pearce, and stars Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark/Iron Man alongside Gwyneth Paltrow, Don Cheadle, Guy Pearce, Rebecca Hall, Stephanie Szostak, James Badge-Dale, William Sadler, Miguel Ferrer, Jon Favreau, and Ben Kingsley. In the film, Stark grapples with the consequences of the events of the Avengers, 2012, during a national terrorism campaign on the United States led by the mysterious Mandarin. After the release of Iron Man 2 in May 2010, director Jon Favreau chose not to return for a third film. Black was hired to write and direct the sequel in February 2011, working with Pearce to make the script more character-centric, focus on thriller elements, and use concepts from Warren Ellis's Extremis comic book story arc. The film's supporting cast, including Kingsley, Pearce, and Hall, were brought on throughout April and May 2012. Filming took place from May 23 to December 17, 2012, primarily at EUE/Screen Gems Studios in Wilmington, North Carolina. Additional filming took place around North Carolina as well as in Florida, Los Angeles, and China. An extended version of the film specifically for Chinese audiences was created. 17 companies provided the film's visual effects. Iron Man 3 premiered at the Grand Rex in Paris on April 14, 2013, and was released in the United States on May 3, as the first film in Phase 2 of the MCU. It received positive reviews from critics, with praise for its action sequences, Black's direction, and Downey's performance, though there was criticism for the portrayal of the Mandarin. The film was a box office success, grossing over $1.215 billion worldwide, making it the second highest grossing film of 2013 and the 16th film to gross over $1 billion. It finished its theatrical run as the fifth highest grossing film of all time, while its opening weekend was the sixth highest of all time. The film received Best Visual Effects nominations at the Academy Awards and the BAFTA Awards. Plot: at a New Year's Eve party in 1999, Tony Stark meets scientist Maya Hansen, the inventor of Extremis, an experimental regenerative treatment that allows recovery from crippling injuries. Disabled scientist Aldrich Killian offers them a place in his company Advanced Idea Mechanics, AIM, but Stark rejects him. 13 years later, Stark is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder and has frequent panic attacks due to his experiences during the alien invasion of New York. He has built dozens of new Iron Man suits to cope with his insomnia, creating friction with his girlfriend Pepper Potts. Meanwhile, a string of bombings is claimed by a terrorist known as the Mandarin. Stark's security chief Happy Hogan is badly injured in one such attack and is put into a coma, prompting Stark to issue a televised threat to the Mandarin, revealing his home address in the process. The Mandarin sends gunship helicopters to destroy Stark's home. Hansen, who came to warn Stark, survives the attack with Potts. Stark escapes in an experimental new Iron Man suit, which his artificial intelligence JARVIS pilots to rural Tennessee, following a flight plan from Stark's investigation into the Mandarin. Stark's new armor is not fully functional and lacks sufficient power to return to Malibu, leading the world to believe that he died. With the help of Harley Keener, a local boy, Stark investigates the remains of a local explosion bearing the hallmarks of a Mandarin attack. However, it occurred years before any known attack by a terrorist. He discovers the bombings were triggered by soldiers subjected to Extremis whose bodies explosively rejected the treatment, and were falsely attributed by AIM as a terrorist plot to cover up Extremis flaws. Stark witnesses Extremis firsthand when Mandarin agents Sabin and Brandt attack him. Stark kills Brandt and incapacitates Sabin. Meanwhile, Killian resurfaces and kidnaps Potts with assistance from Hansen. American intelligence agencies continue to search for the Mandarin, with James Rhodes, the former War Machine, now rebranded as the Iron Patriot, lured into a trap to steal his armor. Tracing the Mandarin to Miami, Stark infiltrates his headquarters using improvised weapons. Inside, he discovers the Mandarin is an English actor named Trevor Slattery, who is oblivious to the actions carried out in his image. Killian, the real Mandarin behind Slattery's cover, then captures Stark. Killian, who appropriated Hansen's Extremis research as a cure for his own disability and expanded the program to include injured war veterans, reveals he has subjected Potts to Extremis in the hope Stark will help fix Extremis' flaws while trying to save her. When Hansen betrays Killian by threatening to jeopardize his operations, Killian kills her. Stark escapes and reunites with Rhodes, discovering that Killian intends to attack President Ellis aboard Air Force One, using the Iron Patriot armor, controlled by Sabin. Stark kills Sabin, saving the passengers and crew, but cannot stop Killian from abducting Ellis. At an impounded damaged oil tanker, Killian intends to kill Ellis on live television, so that the vice president would then become a puppet leader following Killian's orders, in exchange for Extremis curing his young daughter's disability. Stark and Rhodes infiltrate the platform, aided by the Iron Man suits, remotely controlled by JARVIS. Rhodes secures the president and takes him to safety, while Stark discovers Potts has survived the Extremis procedure. Before he can save her, a rig collapses around them, and she falls to the platform to her apparent death. Stark fights Killian but finds himself cornered. Potts, whose Extremis powers allowed her to survive the fall, kills Killian to save Stark. As a gesture of his devotion to Potts, Stark orders JARVIS to destroy all the Iron Man suits. The Vice President and Slattery are arrested, and Happy awakens from his coma. With Stark's help, Potts's Extremis effects are stabilized. Stark promises to scale back his life as Iron Man, undergoing surgery to remove the shrapnel near his heart and throwing his obsolete chest arc reactor into the sea. He muses that, even without the technology, he will always be Iron Man. Cast: Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark/Iron Man. An Avenger and a self-described genius, billionaire, playboy, and philanthropist with mechanical suits of armor of his own invention. Stark now struggles to come to terms with his near-death experience in the Avengers, 2012,78 suffering from anxiety attacks. On making a third Iron Man film, Downey said, "My sense of it is that we need to leave it all on the field, whatever that means in the end. You can pick several different points of departure for that." 9 On following up the Avengers, Downey said they tried to be practical, in a post-Avengers world. What are his challenges now? What are some limitations that might be placed on him? And what sort of threat would have him, as usual, ignore those limitations? 10. Screenwriter Drew Pearce compared Tony to an American James Bond for both being heroes with a sense of danger to them, and unpredictability even if Stark was a free agent instead of an authority figure like Bond. He also likened Tony to the protagonists of 1970s films such as The French Connection, 1971, where the idiosyncrasies of the heroes is what made them exciting. 11. Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts. Stark's girlfriend, longtime associate, and the current CEO of Stark Industries. 712 Paltrow says of her character's relationship to Tony, she still adores Tony, but she absolutely gets fed up with him. He gets caught in a feedback loop. 13. Kevin Feige commented on Pepper's role in the film, "The love triangle in this movie is really between Tony, Pepper, and the suits. Tony, Pepper, and his obsession with those suits, and the obsession with technology." Feige also stated the film uses the character to play with the damsel in distress trope, and posits the question, is Pepper in danger or is Pepper the savior? 14. Don Cheadle as James Rhodey Rhodes/Iron Patriot. Stark's best friend and the liaison between Stark Industries and the U.S. Air Force in the Department of Acquisitions. Rhodes operates the redesigned/upgraded War Machine armor, taking on an American flag-inspired color scheme similar to the Iron Patriot armor from the comics. 8 set of roads and the armor. The notion in the movie is that a red, white, and blue suit is a bold statement, and it's meant to be. With Rhodey, he's very much the foil to Tony's eccentricities, and in this one you get to see this and be reminded of the trust and friendship between them in that great Shane Black buddy cop fashion. 15 in the film, the president asks Rhodey to take up the moniker Iron Patriot, and don the red, white, and blue suit, in order to be the government's American hero in response to the events in the Avengers. 16. Guy Pearce as Aldrich Killian. The creator of the Extremis virus 17 and the founder and owner of the science and development organization Advanced Idea Mechanics 18, who adopts the mantle of the Mandarin as his own. 1920 Killian develops Extremis to cure his own debilitating disability. In addition to his regenerative healing qualities, he has superhuman strength and the ability to generate extreme heat. Prolonged exposure to Extremis also grants him the ability to breathe fire. Pearce felt he was a little more experimental in the roles he was taking in his career, and was not keen on appearing in a superhero film, but felt his role in this film was cameo stuff, which was a more enjoyable experience because he was working in concentrated spurts. 21 Pearce described Killian as a man with physical disabilities who has never been able to accept those limitations and works to overcome them, continuing, his tenacity and blind determination in fighting for a better life are seen by some as irritating, as he often comes across as obnoxious. 18. Black felt that Pearce ultimately is the Mandarin in the film, and that Marvel worked with him to come up with these crazy things, these far-out ideas that divert from established expectations from the comics. 19. Rebecca Hall as Maya Hansen. A geneticist whose work helped Killian create Extremis. 8/22/23 Hall said Hansen would be a strong female character, and described her decision to take the role, saying, "I decided to do Iron Man 3 because I've never done the hurry up and wait movie before. Even the studio movies I've done have been small studio movies, or indie films that we made on a wing and a prayer. I love those, but Iron Man is refreshing in a way because it's something out of my realm of experiences." 24 Hall confirmed her character's role was greatly reduced in the final film, saying, "I signed on to do something that was a substantial role. She wasn't entirely the villain. There have been several phases of this, but I signed on to do something very different to what I ended up doing." 25. Stephanie Sostak as Ellen Brandt. A war veteran who becomes an assassin after her exposure to Extremis. 8/26 describing Brandt, Sostak says, "Extremis was a second chance at life. We talked about what you feel like, and I think it almost makes you a fuller version of who you are. All your weakness and your qualities, just everything gets enhanced. I saw it as very freeing, almost you become your true self and your fantasy self all at once." 27 The writers originally envisioned Brandt as Killian's main henchman, who would return throughout the film to fight Tony, but eventually, that role was reassigned to Eric Sabin. 28. James Badge Dale as Eric Sabin. Killian's Extremis-powered henchman. 8/29 Dale stated that his character in the film was loosely based on the comic version of the character. 30 According to Dale, Ben Kingsley is the mouthpiece. Guy Pearce is the brain. I'm the muscle. 31. William Sadler as Matthew Ellis. 26/32 The President of the United States, named after Warren Ellis, who wrote the Extremis comics arc that primarily influenced the film's story. 33. Miguel Ferrer as Rodriguez, the Vice President of the United States. 34. Jon Favreau as Happy Hogan. Tony Stark's former bodyguard and chauffeur who now serves as Stark Industries' head of security department. Favreau, who served as both actor and director on the previous 2 Iron Man films, said participating in the new film was like being a proud grandfather who doesn't have to change the diapers but gets to play with the baby. 35. Ben Kingsley as Trevor Slattery. a British actor who Killian hired to portray the Mandarin, a terrorist persona in jam television broadcasts in which he is depicted as the leader of the international terrorist organization The Ten Rings. 36 Kingsley was filming Ender's Game, 2013, when he was cast, and said that, "Quite soon I'll be with everybody and we'll be discussing the look and the feel and the direction of the character. It's very early days yet, but I'm so thrilled to be on board." 37 On his performance, Kingsley stated, "I wanted a voice that would disconcert a Western audience. I wanted a voice that would sound far more homegrown and familiar, a familiarity like a teacher's voice or a preacher's voice. The rhythms and tones of an earnest, almost benign, teacher trying to educate people for their own good." 38 The Mandarin was initially set to appear in the first Iron Man film, but he was put off for a sequel as the filmmakers felt that he was too ambitious for a first film. 39 On the character, Beef stated, "The Mandarin is Iron Man's most famous foe in the comics mainly because he's been around the longest. If you look, there's not necessarily a definitive Mandarin storyline in the comics. So it was really about having an idea." 15 Black explains Kingsley's Mandarin is not Chinese in the film as he is in the comics in order to avoid the Fu Manchu stereotype. "We're not saying he's Chinese, we're saying he, in fact, draws a cloak around him of Chinese symbols and dragons because it represents his obsessions with Sun Tzu in various ancient arts of warfare that he studied." The filmmakers also cited Colonel Kurtz from Apocalypse Now, 1979, as an influence for the character. 40 The videos where the Mandarin gives historical background to the attacks expressed how it emerged as the product of a think tank of people trying to create a modern terrorist. 28 Thus the Mandarin represents every terrorist in a way, from South American insurgency tactics to the videos of Osama bin Laden. 40 Paul Bettany reprises his role from previous films as Jarvis, Stark's AI system. 26 Ty Simpkins portrays Harley Keener, a child who lives in Rose Hill, Tennessee, who assists Stark when the latter breaks into his garage in order to repair his suit. He later helps Stark investigate various incidents associated with the Extremis project, and afterwards he is rewarded by Stark with a garage full of modern engineering tools and equipment. 41 26 Simpkins reprises his role as Harley in a cameo appearance in Avengers, Endgame, 2019. Simpkins has stated that he has a 3-picture deal with Marvel Studios. 42 Ashley Hamilton portrays Taggart, one of the Extremis soldiers. 43 Adam Pally plays Gary, a cameraman who helps Stark. 44 Sean Tubb reprises his role as Ho Yinsen from the first Iron Man, 2008, film in a brief cameo. 45 and Stan Lee makes a cameo appearance as a beauty pageant judge. 46 Dale Dickey plays Mrs. Davis, mother of an Extremis subject that is framed as a terrorist. 47 Wang Sweki briefly plays Dr. Wu in the general release version of the film. 48 A cut of the film produced for release exclusively in China includes additional scenes featuring Wang and an appearance by Fan Bingbing as one of his assistants. 49 50 Jenna Ortega briefly appears uncredited as the vice president's daughter. Her lines were cut from the final film. 51 Mark Ruffalo makes an uncredited cameo appearance, reprising his role as Bruce Banner from the Avengers, in a post-credits scene. 52 Comedians Bill Maher and Joan Rivers 53 54 and Fashion Police, 2010 to 2017, co-host George Katsiopoulos have cameo appearances as themselves on their respective real-world television programs. 55 as do newscasters Josh Elliott 56 Megan Henderson 57 Pat Kiernan 58 and Thomas Roberts. 59 Production. Development. Truthfully, the way to go about doing a part 3, if you're ever in that position, as I'm lucky enough to be, is to find a way that the first 2 weren't done yet. You have to find a way to make sure that the story that's emerging is still ongoing and, by the time you've finished 3, will be something resembling the culmination of a trilogy. It's about, how has the story not yet been completely told, and I think we're getting there. I think we've really found ways to make this feel organic and new, based on what's come before, and that's what I'm happy about. Shane Black, director of Iron Man 3, on the film. 10. Following the release of Iron Man 2, 2010, a conflict between Paramount Pictures, which had distribution rights to certain Marvel Comics properties, and the Walt Disney Company, Marvel Entertainment's then new corporate parent, clouded the timing and the distribution arrangement of a possible third film. 60. On October 18, 2010, Walt Disney Studios agreed to pay Paramount at least $115 million for the worldwide distribution rights to Iron Man 361, with Disney, Marvel, and Paramount announcing a May 3, 2013, release date for the film. 62. Iron Man, 2008, and Iron Man 2 director Jon Favreau said in December 2010 that he would not direct Iron Man 3, opting to direct Magic Kingdom instead. He remained an executive producer of director Joss Whedon's crossover film The Avengers, 2012, and also served as an executive producer of Iron Man 3. 63-64. Also in 2010, Downey reached out to Shane Black, who directed him in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, 2005, to write and direct the film. 65. In February 2011, Black entered final negotiations to join the project. 66-67. And in March it was announced that Drew Pearce, who Marvel had originally hired for a Runaways script, would work with Black on the script. 68. Downey said, "Bringing in Shane Black to write and direct Iron Man 3 to me is basically the only transition from Favreau to a next thing that Favreau and the audience and Marvel and I could ever actually sign off on." 9. Black was initially hesitant to work with Pearce on the film, preferring to work with a writing partner of his own, but after a week of discussing the film and getting to know one another, agreed to write the film with Pearce. 69, 207. Writing. Black described his take on the film as not being two men in iron suits fighting each other, and more like a Tom Clancy thriller, with Iron Man fighting real-world type villains. 67. Pearce added that they would avoid magic and space, with Iron Man 3 being a techno-thriller set in a more real world than even the Avengers. The duo spent some time discussing themes and images and ideas before starting the script. 11. While writing, the focus was to avoid scenes of pure exposition, making every moment propel other narrative points forward. Some elements from the comics were used even if in different connotations, such as making Rhodes wear Norman Osborn's Iron Patriot armor and naming some characters with names from unrelated people in the Marvel Universe, such as Eric Saban and Jack Taggart. 28. The film's plot is influenced primarily by the Extremis, 2005 to 2006, comics storyline, written by Warren Ellis. 33. The first two acts would remain character-centric, albeit in Black's words more hectic, frenetic, and large-scale to fulfill its sequel obligations, with the third act going for more over-the-top action to what Pearce described as giving a sense of opera. The middle act was compared to Sullivan's Travels, 1941, in having Tony meeting various people on his journey, and the writers made sure to not make the characters too similar. The initial draft had Maya Hansen herself leading the villainous operation, with the Mandarin and Killian emerging as antagonists in later versions of the script. During one of the writing sessions, Pearce suggested that the Mandarin was a fake, and Black agreed by going with making him an actor, which in turn Pearce detailed as an overacting British stage performer. Black explained, "Who would be fool enough to declare that he is an international terrorist? If you're smart, whatever regime you're part of, you'd put a puppet committee and remain your house." In turn Killian would hide Trevor Slattery in his own frat house, in kind of a drug-related house arrest to keep the secret alive. 28. According to Black, the reveal of the actual villain being Hansen was like Remington Steele, 1982 to 1987, you think it's the man but at the end, the woman has been running the whole show. The role was eventually shifted to Killian because of objections by Marvel Entertainment executives, who were concerned with apparent merchandising losses that could come with having a female villain. The roles of several other major female characters were also made smaller in the final film compared to earlier drafts. 70. Both the opening and the ending of the film were reworked in various ways. First, it would begin with a flashback to Tony's childhood. Then, like Iron Man, it would begin in medias res, with Tony crashing in Tennessee before a voiceover that would lead to how he got there, until it got changed to the final version. For the climactic tanker battle, it was originally considered that Brandt would show up in the James Bond tradition of the henchman coming back for the heroes. Instead, they chose to use Killian himself, and have Pepper, whom he abused earlier, cause his downfall as a way of poetic justice. The final dialogue was originally written as "I am Tony Stark" to be a response to the first film's ending, but eventually it changed to "I am Iron Man" to enhance the mythical qualities. 28. On setting the film around Christmas, Black said, "I think it's a sense of if you're doing something on an interesting scale that involves an entire universe of characters, one way to unite them is to have them all undergo a common experience. There's something at Christmas that unites everybody, and it already sets a stage within the stage, that wherever you are, you're experiencing this world together. I think that also there's something just pleasing about it to me." Pierce added that he would have wanted to see a third Iron Man film set at Christmas, adding that when you're telling a story about taking characters apart, it almost has more resonance if you put it at Christmas, and if you're also telling a story about lonelier characters as well. That loneliness is heightened at Christmas. Black also felt the character Harley Keener embodied the ghost of Christmas past for Stark. 71. Pre-production. In September 2011, Marvel Studios reached an agreement to shoot the film primarily out of EUE/Screen Gem Studios in Wilmington, North Carolina. Michigan was also in contention to land the production, but the Michigan Film Office could not match North Carolina's tax incentives. 72. In April 2012, Ben Kingsley entered into negotiations to play a villain in Iron Man 3. 73. A part which Anthony Mackie, who would later portray Sam Wilson in the MCU, also auditioned for. 74. The following week, producer Kevin Feige revealed that Iron Man 3 would begin shooting in North Carolina in 5 weeks, and said that it is a full-on Tony Stark-centric movie, very much inspired by the first half of Iron Man. He's stripped of everything, he's backed up against a wall, and he's gotta use his intelligence to get out of it. He can't call Thor, he can't call Cap, he can't call Nick Fury, and he can't look for the helicarrier in the sky. 75. A few days later, the Walt Disney Company China, Marvel Studios, and DMG Entertainment announced an agreement to co-produce Iron Man 3 in China. DMG partly financed, produced in China with Marvel, and handled co-production matters. DMG also distributed the film in China in tandem with Disney. 76-77. DMG had been pitching Marvel Studios on collaboration opportunities to enhance the film for the Chinese market. Initially, they suggested that Harley Keener be a Chinese exchange student, something Marvel Studios co-president Luis D. Esposito shot down since they did not want the film to feature the sidekick from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, 1984. Instead, Feige suggested a doctor named Dr. Wu, in reference to the Steely Dan song, who could remove the shrapnel from Stark's chest. 69. 210. Chinese star Andy Lau became involved in negotiations to join the film in that role. 78. Lau would later turn down the role, and Wang Sweki was cast instead. 79-48. The next week, Guy Pearce entered into final talks to play Aldrich Killian, a character who is featured in the Extremis comic book story arc. 18. Jessica Chastain entered into discussions for a role in the film 80 but bowed out due to scheduling conflicts. 22. In May, Rebecca Hall was cast in her place. 22. And her role was described as a scientist who plays a pivotal role in the creation of a nanotechnology, known as Extremis. 23. Over the next few weeks, James Badge Dale was cast as Eric Saban. 29. Ashley Hamilton was cast as Firepower. 43. And Favreau returned to reprise his role as Happy Hogan from the first 2 films. 81. Stephanie Sostak and William Sadler were also cast in the film, with Sadler playing the President of the United States. 3282. Despite erroneous early reports that Cobie Smulders would reprise her role as Maria Hill from the Avengers in the film 83, Smulders wrote on her verified Twitter page that this was not so. 84. According to Drew Pearce, Emilia Clarke was initially cast for an unknown role, before the script was changed. 85. Filming. Filming began in Wilmington, North Carolina, on May 23, 2012, at EUE/Screen Gem Studios. 86. With the working title Caged Heat. 87. Cinematographer John Toll opted to work with digital cameras for the first time in his career, as he found them more convenient for a visual effects heavy production. Toll shot the film primarily on the ARRI Alexa camera. 88. From June 4 through June 6, 2012, filming took place in Cary, North Carolina, at the Epic Games headquarters. 89. And SAS Institute. 90. With a large Christmas tree set up on the front lawn. 91. A scene was also shot at the Wilmington International Airport. 86. The port of Wilmington served as a location for the oil tanker in the climactic battle, along with a soundstage recreation of the dock. 28. The crumbling house itself was filmed in a hydraulic-powered Giabo platform that could bend and split into two pieces. All the interior footage had practical effects, including debris and explosions, with computer graphics used only to add exteriors and Iron Man's armor. 92. 93. From July 19 to August 1, 2012, filming took place on Oak Island, North Carolina, to film aerial drops over the Atlantic Ocean. 94. They were done for the scene where Iron Man rescues the people falling from the Air Force One over Miami, which were originally envisioned done with green screen effects, but were changed to using actual skydivers, as second unit director Brian Smrz knew the Red Bull skydiving team. Computer graphics were employed only to add clouds, the destroyed plane and matte paintings of the Florida coastline in the background, replace a stand-in with the Iron Man armor, and some digital compositing to combine different takes of the skydivers together. 95. Filming took place in Rose Hill, North Carolina, in early August 2012. 96. And the town's name was incorporated into the script as the Tennessee City Stark Visits. 93. On August 14, actress Dale Dickey said she had been cast in the film, and was currently shooting her scenes. 47. The following day, production was halted when Downey suffered an ankle injury. 97. During the break, Black and Pearce made more script revisions before shooting resumed by August 24. 98. 99. Cast and crew began arriving in Florida on October 1, to shoot scenes on Dania Beach and around South Florida. 100. That same day, Downey returned to the set after his ankle injury. 101. In early October, scenes were shot at a replica of the Malibu restaurant Neptune's Net. 102. And filming took place on location at the Vizcaya Museum and Gardens. 103. Scenes were shot during the daytime inside the Miami Beach Resort at Miami Beach on October 10 and 11. 104. The production returned to Wilmington in mid-October for additional filming. 105. On November 1, scenes were shot at the Vizcaya Museum and Gardens. 106. Filming in the United States wrapped on November 7 in Wilmington. 107. Filming began in Beijing, China on December 10. Filming was scheduled to wrap a week later on December 17, 2012. 48. The China filming did not include the main cast and crew. 107. In January 2013, it was reported that a film crew led by Shane Black would begin location scouting in Hyderabad and Bengaluru, India between January 20 and 24. 108. Also in January, Cheadle confirmed that reshooting was taking place in Manhattan Beach. 109. Shooting also took place on the week of January 23, 2013, at TCL Chinese Theater in Hollywood. 110. A major part of the content filmed in the reshoots regarded the Mandarin, with Drew Pearce saying that in early cuts, the character didn't feel real enough. There wasn't a sense of him being part of the real world, mostly because he was just looking down a lens and threatening the world. 11. A report on actual production costs for films from FilmL.A. Inc. indicated a gross budget of $200 million, with a net of $178.4 million for Iron Man 3 after tax incentives from North Carolina and Florida. 2. Post-production. Previsualization of the Mark 42 armor, top, and the completed shot, bottom. Chris Townsend served as visual effects supervisor for the film, which featured over 2,000 visual effects shots and was worked on by 17 studios, including Weta Digital, Digital Domain, Scanline VFX, Treater, Framestore, Luma Pictures, Fuel VFX, Cantina Creative, Cinesight, The Embassy Visual Effects, Lola Visual Effects, Capital T, Prologue, and Rise FX. 92 Townsend said that from January 2013 through the end of filming in April, the collective crew had 1 day of downtime, otherwise working 7 days a week and 14 to 18 hours a day. 111. Digital Domain, Scanline VFX, and Treater each worked on separate shots featuring the Mark 42 armor, working with different digital models. The studios shared some of their files to ensure consistency between the shots. For the Mark 42 and Iron Patriot armors, Legacy Effects constructed partial suits that were worn on set. Townsend explained that invariably we'd shoot a soft suit with Robert, then we'd also put tracking markers on his trousers. He would also wear lifts in his shoes or be up in a box so he'd be the correct height. Iron Man is 6 feet 5 inches. During shooting we used multiple witness cams, Canon C300S, and we had 2 or 3 running whenever there was an Iron Man or Extremis character. The artists studied time-lapse photography of decaying fruit and vegetables and actual phenomena such as the aurora borealis as reference for the effect of the glowing Extremis characters. 92 The heads-up display features of the helmet were inspired by visualization techniques from MRI diagnostic pattern recognition and graph theory, particularly by the connectogram, a circular graph that maps all of the white matter connections of the human brain. 112. The film's production was delayed following Downey's leg injury, and for certain shots they were forced to create a double for Downey. Townsend explained that the collective VFX supervisors and unit leads ran into a room as soon as the incident happened to try to ascertain what sequences could they shoot. Certain shots were filmed with a body double on set, and Weta Digital created a digital body double for others. 111. A total of 3 hours and 15 minutes of footage were shot before editing, where it was brought down to 130 minutes, 119 without the credits, 28 marking the longest standalone Iron Man film. 33 Post-production also had a 3D conversion 113 and a digital remaster for the IMAX release. 114 Todd Ayo mixed the sound in Dolby Atmos to enhance the immersive experience. 115 Trevor Slattery was originally meant to die in the film, appearing during the climatic oil rig battle with an Extremis injector and promptly blowing up after taking it. Pierce said that was the most Monty Python of all of the beats in the film. During the editing process, it was determined to keep Slattery alive, with new material shot during the reshoots to accommodate this. 116. Music. Further information, Iron Man 3, soundtrack. The film is scored by Brian Tyler, who signed on in October 2012. 117 According to Tyler, he was approached more for his thematic scores such as The Greatest Game Ever Played, Annapolis, and Partition rather than his modern action scores such as the Fast and Furious films, with Kevin Feige asking for a theme that was recognizable and featured those dramatic tones. 118 To employ the deeply thematic component with a strong melody, the score employs mostly orchestra sounds. The main theme for Iron Man focuses on horns and trumpets. 119 To be both a march and anthem. Tyler mentioned that John Williams' work on Raiders of the Lost Ark was the first thing he thought of as an influence, and the cue for the Well of Souls in Raiders influenced the Extremis motif, as Tyler felt it should enhance a spiritual side for having a technology so advanced that nears magic. Echoing the Mandarin's amalgamated personality, His theme was religious music that borrows from many cultures, from monastic, Gothic, and Christian chants to music from the Middle East. 118. The score was recorded with the London Philharmonic Orchestra at Abbey Road Studios. 119. Along with Tyler's soundtrack album, Hollywood Records released a concept album inspired by the film, Heroes Fall. It features 12 original alternative rock and indie rock songs, with only one appearing in the film itself, AWOL Nation's Some Kind of Joke. 120. Marketing. In July 2012, at San Diego Comic-Con, a new Iron Man armor from the film, the Mark XLII, was on display on the convention floor, along with the Mark's I-7 from the first two Iron Man films and the Avengers. 121. A panel was held, during which Shane Black, Robert Downey Jr., Don Cheadle, Jon Favreau, and Kevin Feige discussed making the film, and several minutes of footage from the film were shown. 35. The first television advertisement aired during Super Bowl 47 on the CBS network in the United States. 122. On March 25, 2013, Marvel and Disney revealed on the official Iron Man Facebook page, Iron Man 3, Armor Unlock, to reveal suits Stark has made before the events of the film. 123. In January 2013, Marvel Comics released a 2-issue comic book prelude by writers Christos Gage and Will Corona Pilgrim with art by Steve Kurth and Drew Jersey. The story set between the second and third Iron Man films centers on War Machine, revealing why he was absent during the battle in New York of the Avengers. 124. Like with the first two films, Audi again provided product placement with various vehicles. 125. Oracle also returned from Iron Man 2, showcasing both the Oracle Cloud and the Oracle Exadata server. 126. Verizon FiOS and TCL's flat panel televisions and Alcatel One Touch smartphones are also featured in the film. 127. And the Chinese cut also shows a Zoom Lion Crane and Ely Milk. 128. Promotional deals were arranged with Subway and the Schwan Food Company. 127. And tie-ins included Lego sets. 129. Hasbro action figures. 130. And a mobile phone game by Game Loft. 131. Disney also promoted the film at its domestic theme parks. Disneyland's Innoventions attraction received a Stark Industries exhibit beginning April 13, and Monorail Black of the Walt Disney World monorail system was given an exterior Iron Man scheme. 132. 133. The exhibit, entitled Iron Man Tech presented by Stark Industries, features the same armor display that was shown at the 2012 San Diego Comic-Con, with the Mark's I-7 and the new Mark XLII. In addition, there is a simulator game, titled Become Iron Man, that uses Kinect-like technology to allow the viewer to be encased in an animated Mark XLII armor and take part in a series of tests, in which you fire repulsor rays and fly through Tony Stark's workshop. The game is guided by Jarvis, who is voiced again by Paul Bettany. The exhibit also has smaller displays that include helmets and chest pieces from the earlier films and the gauntlet and boot from an action sequence in Iron Man 3. 134. All in all, Disney spent $131 million marketing the film worldwide. 135. Release. Theatrical. Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow in Paris at the film's French premiere at the Grand Rex, April 2013. Iron Man 3 was distributed worldwide by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures A with the exception of China, where it was released by DMG Entertainment, and Germany and Austria, where it was released by Telemunchen Group. 76. The Chinese version of the film offers specially prepared bonus footage made exclusively for the Chinese audience. 50. This version features a 4-minute longer cut of the film, featuring product placement for various Chinese products, as well as an extended scene of Dr. Wu preparing to operate on Stark with his unnamed assistant played by Fan Bingbing. 128. 136. The film was titled on screen as Iron Man 3. 138. The film's premiere happened at the Grand Rex in Paris, on April 14, 2013, with Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow in attendance. 140. While the UK premiere of the film was originally set for April 17, the funeral of former British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher taking place in that date made the event be pushed to the following day. 141. Downey, Ben Kingsley, and Rebecca Hall were present for the advance screening at London's Odeon Leicester Square. 142. The El Capitan Theatre in Hollywood, Los Angeles, hosted the United States premiere of Iron Man 3 on April 24. 143. The film opened in 46 countries through April 22, 24. 144. With the United States release, on 4,253 screens, happening 1 week later. 145. Regal Cinemas, AMC Theaters, and Carmike Cinemas put pre-sale tickets on hold, 2 weeks before the US premiere. The cinemas were in a contract dispute with Disney, who wished to receive more of the ticket sale profit than they currently did, largely based on the projected premiere weekend intake Iron Man 3 was expected to have. Carmike was the first to come to terms with Disney. 146. It was later reported that Cinemark Theaters had also stopped selling pre-sale tickets, and Regal Cinemas had removed all marketing material for the film from its locations. 147. On April 25, 2013, Regal, AMC and Disney ended their dispute, which allowed Regal and AMC to proceed with selling pre-sale tickets again. 148. 149. IMAX screenings began on April 25, 2013, internationally and May 3 in the United States. 114. The film was shown in the 4DX format, featuring strobe lights, tilting seats, blowing wind, and fog and odor effects in selected countries. 150. 151. In Japan, the technology opened its first room at the Corona World Theatre in Nagoya, Japan with the release of the film. 152. Iron Man 3 was the first film released in Phase 2 of the MCU. 153. Home media. Iron Man 3 was released by Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment in digital download form on September 3, 2013. This was followed by the film's release on Blu-ray, 3D Blu-ray, DVD, digital copy, and on demand on September 24, 2013. 154. The home video release includes a Marvel one-shot short film titled Agent Carter starring Hayley Atwell as Peggy Carter from Captain America, the First Avenger. 155. It debuted atop the DVD and Blu-ray charts in the United States, and second in the rental charts behind World War Z. 156. Iron Man 3 has earned more than $82 million in home media sales in the US. 157. The film was also collected in a 13-disc box set titled Marvel Cinematic Universe, Phase 2 Collection, which includes all of the Phase 2 films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was released on December 8, 2015. 158. Reception. Box office. Iron Man 3 grossed $409 million in North America and $857.1 million in other countries for a worldwide total of $1.266 billion, outgrossing both of its predecessors combined. Worldwide, it became the fifth highest grossing film, the second highest grossing film of 2013, 159 the second highest grossing film of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, behind Marvel's The Avengers, 160 and the highest grossing film of the Iron Man film series 161 as well as the fourth highest grossing comic book and superhero film overall. 162 163 It achieved the sixth largest worldwide opening weekend with $372.5 million. 164 On the weekend of May 3 to 5, 2013, the film set a record for the largest worldwide weekend in IMAX with $28.6 million. 165 On its 23rd day in theaters, Iron Man 3 became the 6th Disney film and the 16th film overall to reach $1 billion. 166. It is the first Iron Man film to gross over $1 billion, becoming the second Marvel film to do so after the Avengers 33 and was the fourth fastest film to reach the milestone. As part of the earlier distribution agreement made with Disney in 2010, Paramount Pictures received 9% of the box office gross generated by Iron Man 3. 167. Deadline Hollywood calculated the film's net profit as $391.8 million, when factoring together all expenses and revenues for the film. 135. By the end of its opening day, Iron Man 3 made $68.9 million, including $15.6 million from late Thursday shows, 145 achieving the 7th highest grossing opening day. 168. By the end of its opening weekend, the film earned $174.1 million, making it the second highest opening weekend of all time, behind the Avengers. Of the opening weekend audience, 55% was over 25 years old, and 61% were males, while only 45% of the gross originated from 3D screenings. Opening weekend earnings from IMAX amounted to $16.5 million. 169. It topped the box office during 2 consecutive weekends and achieved the 4th largest second weekend gross with $72.5 million. 170. The film earned $13.2 million on its opening day, Wednesday, April 24, 2013, from 12 countries. 171. Through Sunday, April 28, it earned a 5-day opening weekend of $198.4 million from 42 countries. 172. The film's opening weekend gross included $7.1 million from IMAX venues. 173. It set opening day records in the Philippines, surpassed by Man of Steel, Taiwan 171, Singapore, Vietnam, Malaysia 174, China 175, Ukraine 176, Russia and the CIS 177, both single and opening day records in Thailand and South Africa 178, as well as a single day record in Hong Kong. 179. It also scored the second biggest opening day in Argentina, only behind Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 2. 180. The film set opening weekend records in the Asia-Pacific region, in Latin America, and in individual countries including Argentina, first surpassed by Fast and Furious 6, when including weekday previews, 181, Ecuador 182, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Vietnam, Taiwan, the Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore 172, Thailand, South Africa, and the United Arab Emirates. 176. It also achieved the second largest opening weekend in Mexico 183, Brazil 184, and Russia and the CIS. 177. In India, it had the second best opening weekend for a Hollywood film, after The Amazing Spider-Man. 185. IMAX opening weekend records were set in Taiwan, the Netherlands, Brazil, and the Philippines. 173. It is the highest grossing film in Indonesia, Malaysia 186 and Vietnam 187, and the second highest grossing film in Singapore and the Philippines, behind The Avengers. 188. It topped the weekend box office outside North America 3 consecutive times. 189. In China, where part of the production took place, the film set a midnight showings record with $2.1 million, as well as single-day and opening day records with $21.5 million, on its opening day. 175. Through its first Sunday, the film earned an opening weekend total of $64.10 million, 190, making China's opening the largest for the film, followed by a $23.1 million opening in Russia and the CIS, and a $21.2 million opening in the UK, Ireland, and Malta. 191 with total earnings reaching $124,192. It was the highest grossing American film in China in 2013, and the country is the film's highest grossing market after North America, followed by South Korea, $64.2 million, and the UK, Ireland, and Malta, $57.1 million. 191. Critical response. The review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes reported an approval rating of 79%, with an average score of 7/10, based on 331 reviews. The website's critical consensus reads, with the help of its charismatic lead, some impressive action sequences, and even a few surprises, Iron Man 3 is a witty, entertaining adventure and a strong addition to the Marvel canon. 193. Metacritic gave a weighted average score of 62 out of 100, based on 44 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. 194 audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A on an A+ to F scale, the same score as both its predecessors. 195. In an early review by the trade magazine The Hollywood Reporter, Todd McCarthy said that, after nearly crashing and burning on his last solo flight in 2010, Iron Man returns refreshed and ready for action in this spirited third installment. That benefits immeasurably from the irreverent Quicksilver humor of co-writer and director Shane Black. 196. Calling the film darker and more serious than its predecessors, Kenneth Turan of the Los Angeles Times credited Black for changing this billion-dollar-plus franchise's tone for the better while keeping the same actor as Tony Stark. There is quite a bit of Black's trademark attitude and humor here as well, things like a throwaway reference to the sci-fi classic Westworld and a goofy character who has Tony Stark's likeness tattooed on his forearm. Black and company throw all kinds of stuff at the audience, and though it doesn't all work, a lot of it does, and the attempt to be different and create unguessable twists is always appreciated. 197. Rafer Guzman of Newsday characterized Iron Man as the anti-Batman, all zip and zingers. He's also, suddenly, rather family-friendly. Some of the movie's best moments are shared by Stark and latchkey kid Harley, Ty Simpkins, who mock their budding father-son relationship while acting it out. 198. Psychology Today concluded that the film presented an accurate portrayal of Tony Stark's post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms. 199. Michael Arbiter of Hollywood.com praised the film as Marvel's first true action comedy, commenting that Tony's camaraderie with preteen tech geek Harley Keener is one gigantic superhero/90s kid sidekick laugh riot. The friggin' kid's name is Harley Keener. Is there anything more 90s kid sidekick sounding than that? 200. Nick de Semlyen of the UK film magazine Empire had criticisms, even while giving the film 4 of 5 stars. Finding it a swinging caper with wit, balls, heart, and exploding baubles, he said the villainous super soldiers who can regenerate body parts and survive astounding damage are visually interesting, but their motivation is murky and unconvincing. 201. Likewise, Joshua Rothkopf of Time Out New York bestowed 3 of 5 stars, saying, Black has massively upped the verbal sparring and kept the broad inventiveness of comic book malleability in mind. The most wonderful of Black's surprises harkens back to his 80s reputation for character revision and is simply too good to ruin here. But, he asked, hi, finally, are we down at the docks in the dark? No less for one of those lumbering climaxes involving swinging shipping cranes. The energy bleeds out of the film. It's as if the producers were scared the crowd would riot over not enough digital fakeness. 202. Reacting more negatively, Stephen Whitty of the Star Ledger found the film slickly enjoyable for the visual effects, but said, here's something empty about the film. Like Tony's suits, it's shiny and polished. But this time, there's nobody inside. This movie has neither the emotionalism of the first film, nor the flashy villains of the second. Tony's relationship with girlfriend Pepper Potts is in inexplicable jeopardy and then simply fixes itself. A supposedly cute kid sidekick, a true sign of authorial desperation, is introduced, and then dropped. 203. Michael Phillips of the Chicago Tribune echoed this, saying, "In a gleefully cynical bid for a preteen audience, a few years too young for the violence in Iron Man 3, I'd say, Stark befriends a bullied 8-year-old sick, Ty Simpkins, who becomes his tag-along and sometime savior. Stark no longer needs to be in the Iron Man suit. He's able to operate the thing remotely when needed. The movie's like that too. It's decent superhero blockbustering, but rather remote and vaguely second-hand. At this point, even with Black's flashes of black humor, the machinery is more or less taking care of itself, offering roughly half of the genial wit and enjoyment of the first Iron Man." Robert John Downey Jr., born April 4, 1965, is an American actor. Known for his charismatic performances and versatility, he was the highest-paid actor in Hollywood annually from 2013 to 2015. Over a 5-decade career, Downey has won numerous accolades for his work, including an Academy Award, an Emmy Award, 3 Golden Globe Awards, 2 BAFTA Awards, and 3 Screen Actors Guild Awards. At the age of 5, Downey made his acting debut in his father Robert Downey Sr.'s film Pound, 1970. He rose to prominence by working with the Brat Pack for the teen films Weird Science, 1985, and Less Than Zero, 1987. His portrayal of Charlie Chaplin in the biopic Chaplin, 1992, earned him the BAFTA Award for Best Actor and an Academy Award nomination. After serving time at the Corcoran Substance Abuse Treatment Facility on drug charges, Downey joined the television series Ally McBeal in 2000, earning a Golden Globe for his performance. In 2001, he was dismissed from the show following further drug-related arrests. He entered a court-ordered rehabilitation program and has remained sober since 2003. After Mel Gibson paid his insurance bond, Downey made his film comeback with The Singing Detective, 2003. He portrayed Sherlock Holmes in Sherlock Holmes, 2009, and its 2011 sequel, the first of which earned him another Golden Globe. Downey gained global recognition for starring as Iron Man in 10 Marvel Cinematic Universe films, from Iron Man, 2008, to Avengers, Endgame, 2019. For his acclaimed portrayal of Lewis Strauss in Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, 2023, he won an Academy Award, a Golden Globe, and a BAFTA Award for Best Supporting Actor. In 2024, he was nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award for the miniseries The Sympathizer and made his Broadway debut in the title role of Olyad Actors McNeil. Downey is one of the highest-grossing actors of all time, with his films as a leading actor collectively earning over $14.3 billion worldwide. Named one of Time's 100 most influential people in 2008, he has also pursued music, releasing the jazz-pop album The Futurist, 2004, which charted on the US Billboard 200. Divorced from Deborah Falconer, he has been married to Susan Levin since 2005, with whom he co-founded the production company Team Downey. He has 3 children, 1 with Falconer and 2 with Levin. Early life and acting background. Robert John Downey Jr. was born in Manhattan, New York City, on April 4, 1965. His father, Robert Downey Sr. Annie Elias, was a filmmaker too, while his mother, Elsie Ann, née Ford, was an actress who appeared in Downey Sr.'s films. 3 For his father was of 1/2 Lithuanian Jewish, 1/4 Hungarian Jewish, and 1/4 Irish, while his mother had Scottish, German, and Swiss ancestry. 5 Downey's sister, Allison, is 2 years older than him. 6. Due to his father's film projects, Downey moved frequently during his childhood, living in places such as Woodstock, New York, London, New Mexico, California, Connecticut, and Greenwich Village. 7-8 From a young age, Downey was exposed to drugs, his father struggled with addiction, and his mother battled alcoholism. 7-9 He has said that his father introduced him to marijuana at age 8-10, which he later expressed regret for. 11 Downey mentioned that using drugs with his father created an emotional connection between them, explaining that, "When my dad and I used drugs together, it was his way of showing love for me in the only manner he knew." 12-13 During his childhood, Downey appeared in small roles in his father's films. He made his acting debut at the age of 5, portraying a sick puppy in the absurdist comedy Pound, 1970, and at 7, he appeared in the surrealist western Greaser's Palace, 1972. 14 Aged 11 and 12, he attended Staghetto Manor, a summer acting camp in upstate New York. 15. Downey was described as a hyperactive child who tried to be cool, often teased by the older boys but popular with the girls. 15 His parents divorced in 1977 when he was 12, afterward, he lived with his mother in a fifth-floor apartment in New York 16-17 while his sister stayed with their father, who later took her to a boarding school. 17 He attended Lincoln Junior High School for 8th grade and then Santa Monica High School for 9th and 10th grades, but dropped out in 1982. 18 At age 17, he relocated to New York City to pursue acting full-time. 19 Working various jobs such as clearing tables at a Central Falls restaurant, working in a shoe store, and performing as living art at the nightclub area to support himself during auditions. 2021 During this period, he also appeared in local theater and off-Broadway productions. 22. Career 1983 to 1995, early work and critical acclaim. Downey made his stage debut in 1983 with a 3-week run in Alms for the Middle Class at the Jiva Theater Center. 23 He then appeared in the short-lived off-Broadway musical American Passion at the Joyce Theater, produced by Norman Lear. 24 Downey's first credited film role was in Baby It's You, 1983, though most of his scenes were cut. 25 In his early film roles, he frequently portrayed misfit characters. 26 And his portrayals of punk-like figures in several 1980s coming-of-age films led to his occasional association with the Brat Pack. 1927 In the drama film Firstborn, 1984, he played a supporting role as the teenage friend of the protagonist. 26 Downey then traveled to Los Angeles to film James Spader's Tough Turf, 1985, in which he played Spader's sidekick and a punk drummer. 25 Later that year, his role as a bully in John Hughes's Weird Science, 1985, marked his breakthrough. 28 Downey starred as a more likable radical socialist in the Alan Metter comedy film Back to School, 1987. 26. A 25-year-old Downey dressed in a dark blazer and colorful shirt, being interviewed with a microphone. Downey at the premiere of Air America in 1990. In 1985, Downey joined the new, younger cast of Saturday Night Live, securing the audition with help from his Weird Science co-star and friend Anthony Michael Hall. 25 After a season of poor ratings and criticism of the cast's comedic ability, he and most of the new members were dismissed. 1929 Downey's first leading role came in The Pickup Artist, 1987, which faced criticism for being sexually irresponsible because of its portrayal of promiscuous sex during a period of heightened AIDS awareness. 30-31 He earned critical acclaim for his role as Julian Wells in the drama film Less Than Zero, 1987, the film adaptation of Bret Easton Ellis's 1985 novel. 32-33 For portraying a drug-addicted rich boy whose life rapidly spirals out of control. 34 His performance was widely praised. Roger Ebert called it so real, so subtle, and so observant that it's scary. 35 While Janet Maslin, writing for the New York Times, deemed it desperately moving. 34 Downey said that the role felt like the ghost of Christmas future for him, as his drug habit led him to become an exaggeration of the character in real life. 36. Shortly after completing Less Than Zero, he entered rehab for the first time, beginning a decade-long cycle of interventions and treatment stints that culminated in his 1996 arrest. 37-38 Downey starred alongside Kiefer Sutherland and Winona Ryder in the teen drama 1969-1988. 30 The film saw mixed reviews. 39 Though his performance garnered good reviews from writers at Variety and Deseret News. 40-41 Downey went on to star in the films Chances Are, 1989, with Sybil Shepherd and Ryan O'Neal, Air America, 1990, with Mel Gibson, and Soap Dish, 1991, with Sally Field, Kevin Kline, Kathy Moriarty, and Whoopi Goldberg. Each saw varying critical success. 42-43-44 To prepare for his portrayal of comic actor and filmmaker Charlie Chaplin in the biopic Chaplin, 1992, Downey trained extensively, learning to play the violin and tennis left-handed, and working with a coach to replicate Chaplin's accent and mannerisms. 45 Although the film was a box office bomb, 46 critics praised Downey's performance. 47 For which he earned the BAFTA Award for Best Actor, as well as Academy Award and Golden Globe Award nominations. 48. Oh come on, that's too much. You're going too far, Robert, you're ruining my movie. Forget the dumb dick idea. This isn't some slapstick bullshit. Oliver Stone recalled shouting at Downey during the filming of Natural Born Killers, 1994, 49. In 1993, Downey starred in Heart and Souls, playing a man possessed by multiple characters, a performance that Peter Travers praised as revealing his explosive talent for physical comedy. 50-51 In Only You, 1994, co-starring Marisa Tomei and Billy Zane, Downey played Peter Wright, a professional dancer who poses as the soulmate Tomei's character Faith. 30-52 Norman Jewison, the film's director, cast him because he reminded him of Tony Curtis, charming with great comedic timing. 53 In preparation for his role of reporter Wayne Gale in Natural Born Killers, 1994, Downey shadowed Australian television shock journalist Steve Dunleavy, which helped him develop an Australian accent. 54-55 The film proved successful at the box office, grossing $110 million on a $34 million budget. 56-57 Throughout 1995, he took on a string of diverse roles, including the period drama Restoration 58, the Shakespearean adaptation Richard III 59, and the family ensemble Home for the Holidays. 60. 1996 to 2001, Addiction-Related Setbacks and Ally McBeal. From 1996 through 2001, Downey was arrested several times on charges related to drugs, including cocaine, heroin, and marijuana. 61 He went through drug treatment programs and spent time in county jail and prison. He explained in 1999 to a judge, "It's like I have a shotgun in my mouth, and I've got my finger on the trigger, and I like the taste of the gunmetal." He said he had been addicted to drugs since the age of 8 due to the fact that his father had been giving them to him. 62. In early 1996, after becoming increasingly concerned for Downey, Sean Penn and Dennis Quaid knocked on his door, took his keys, and took him to a rehab center in Tucson. However, Downey escaped and checked himself out a few days later. 37 In June 1996, Downey was arrested for possession of heroin, cocaine, crack cocaine, and an unloaded .357 Magnum handgun while he was speeding down Sunset Boulevard. A month later, while on parole, he wandered into a neighbor's home through the unlocked front door while under the influence of a controlled substance and fell asleep in one of the beds. 63-64 The family refused to press trespassing charges. 38 The tape of the neighbor's 911 call was made available online, and it became known as the Goldilocks incident. 65 In November 1996, after spending time in court-ordered rehab, he received a further 6 months of live-in rehab, 3 years probation, and was ordered to undergo compulsory drug testing. 38 In 1997, he missed one of the court-ordered drug tests and had to spend 6 months in the Los Angeles County Jail. 66 After being released, he went into a court-ordered 120-day rehab program. 38. A mugshot of actor Robert Downey Jr. smiling for his headshot in 1999. Mugshot from his arrest in August 1999. A mugshot of actor Robert Downey Jr. in 2001. Mugshot from his arrest in April 2001. In 1999, after being clean during the shooting of Wonder Boys, Downey relapsed. During this time, he was struggling with legal bills and had lost his house in Malibu. 37 After Downey missed another required drug test in 1999, he was arrested again. Despite Downey's lawyer, Robert Shapiro, assembling the same team of lawyers that had successfully defended O.J. Simpson during his criminal trial for murder 62, Downey was sentenced to a 3-year prison term at the California Substance Abuse Treatment Facility and State Prison in Corcoran, California. 67 At the time of the arrest, all of Downey's film projects had wrapped and were close to release. He had been hired to provide the voice of the devil on the NBC animated television series God, the Devil, and Bob, but was fired when he failed to attend rehearsals. 67-68. After spending nearly a year in the California Substance Abuse Treatment Facility and State Prison, Downey, on condition of posting a $5,000 bail, was unexpectedly freed when a judge ruled that his collective time in incarceration facilities, from the initial 1996 arrests, had qualified him for early release. 11 A week after his 2000 release, Downey joined the cast of the hit television series Ally McBeal, playing a new love interest. 69 He was nominated for the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series and won the Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Actor, Series, Miniseries, or Television Film. 70-71 He also appeared as a writer and singer on Vonda Shepard's Ally McBeal, For Once in My Life album and sang with Sting a duet of Every Breath You Take in an episode of the series. Despite the apparent success, Downey claimed that his performance on the series was overrated and said, "It was my lowest point in terms of addictions. At that stage, I didn't give a fuck whether I ever acted again." 72. In January 2001, Downey was scheduled to play the role of Hamlet in a Los Angeles stage production directed by Mel Gibson. 73. Before the end of his first season on Ally McBeal, Downey was arrested on Thanksgiving in 2000, when his room at Merv Griffin's Hotel and Givenchy Spa in Palm Springs, California, was searched by the police, who were responding to an anonymous 911 call. Downey was under the influence of a controlled substance and in possession of cocaine and Valium. 74-75 Rolling Stone later ran a 6-page investigation into the weekend's events. 37 Despite the fact that, if convicted, he would have faced a prison sentence of up to 4 years and 8 months, he signed on to appear in at least 8 more Ally McBeal episodes. 76. In April 2001, while Downey was on parole, a Los Angeles police officer found him wandering barefoot in Culver City. He was arrested on suspicion of being under the influence of drugs but was released a few hours later. 77 Even though tests showed he had cocaine in his system. 78 After this last arrest, Ally McBeal executives ordered last-minute rewrites and reshoots and fired Downey, despite the fact that Downey's character had resuscitated Ally McBeal's ratings. 79 The Culver City arrest also cost him a role in the high-profile film America's Sweetheart. 78 And the subsequent incarceration prompted Gibson to cancel his Hamlet production. In July 2001, Downey pleaded no contest to the Palm Springs charges, avoiding jail time. Instead, he was sent into drug rehabilitation and received 3 years of probation, benefiting from California Proposition 36, which had been passed the year before with the aim of helping nonviolent drug offenders overcome their addictions instead of sending them to jail. 1180 Downey spent a year at the court-ordered drug treatment facility. By this time, Downey was homeless, too much of an insurance liability to be employable, and on the verge of bankruptcy. 37. The book Conversations with Woody Allen reports that director Woody Allen wanted to cast Downey and Winona Ryder in his 2003 film Melinda and Melinda but was unable to do so because he could not get insurance on them. Allen stated, "We couldn't get bonded. the completion bonding companies would not bond the picture unless we could insure them. We were heartbroken because I had worked with Winona before on Celebrity and thought she was perfect for this and wanted to work with her again. And I had always wanted to work with Bob Downey and always thought he was a huge talent. 81. In a December 18, 2000, article for People magazine titled Bad to Worse, Downey's stepmother, Rosemary, told author Alex Trzynlowski that Downey had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder a few years ago and added that this was the reason he has a hard time staying sober. What hasn't been tried is medication and intensive psychotherapy. 82. In the same article, Dr. Manajay Akhtar, a Los Angeles psychiatrist and co-author of Addiction or Self-Medication, The Truth, claimed she received a letter from Downey in 1999, during his time at Corcoran II, asking for advice on his condition. She discovered that no one had done a complete psychiatric evaluation on him. I asked him flat out if he thought he was bipolar, and he said, "Oh yeah. There are times I spend a lot of money and I'm hyperactive, and there are other times I'm down." 82. In an article for the March 2007 issue of Esquire, Downey stated that he wanted to address this whole thing about the bipolar after receiving a phone call from the Bipolar Association asking him about being bipolar. When Downey denied he had ever said he was bipolar, the caller quoted the People article, to which Downey replied, "No. Dr. Malabushian said I was bipolar." And they go, "Well, it's been written, so we're going to quote it." 83. Downey flatly denied being depressed or manic and said that previous attempts to diagnose him with any kind of psychiatric or mood disorder have always been skewed because the guy I was seeing didn't know I was smoking crack in his bathroom. You can't make a diagnosis until somebody's sober. 83. 2001 to 2008, recovery and comeback. After 5 years of substance abuse, arrests, rehabilitation, and relapse, Downey was ready to work toward a full recovery from drugs and return to his career. In discussing his failed attempts to control his addictive behavior in the past, Downey told Oprah Winfrey in November 2004 that when someone says, "I really wonder if maybe I should go to rehab," well, you're a wreck, you just lost your job, and your wife left you. You might want to give it a shot. 84. He added that after his last arrest in April 2001, when he knew he would likely be facing another stint in prison or another form of incarceration such as court-ordered rehab, I said, "You know what? I don't think I can continue doing this." And I reached out for help, and I ran with it. You can reach out for help in kind of a half-assed way and you'll get it and you won't take advantage of it. It's not that difficult to overcome these seemingly ghastly problems. What's hard is to decide to do it. 84. Downey got his first post-rehabilitation acting job in August 2001, lip-syncing in the video for Elton John's single I Want Love. 85. Video director Sam Taylorwood shot 16 takes of the video and used the last one because, according to John, Downey looked completely relaxed and the way he underplays it is fantastic. 86. Downey was able to return to the big screen after Mel Gibson, who had been a close friend to Downey since both had co-starred in Air America, paid Downey's insurance bond for the 2003 film The Singing Detective, directed by his back-to-school co-star Keith Gordon. 87. Gibson's gamble paved the way for Downey's comeback, and Downey returned to mainstream films in the mid-2000s with Gothica, 2003, for which producer Joel Silver withheld 40% of Downey's salary until after production wrapped as insurance against his addictive behavior. Similar clauses became standard in his contracts throughout the 2000s. 88. Silver, who was getting closer to Downey as he dated his assistant Susan Levin, later Susan Downey, also got the actor the leading role in the comedy thriller Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, 2005, the directorial debut of screenwriter Shane Black. 89. After Gothica, Downey was cast in a number of leading and supporting roles, including well-received work in a number of semi-independent films, Good Night, and Good Luck, 2005, A Guide to Recognizing Your Saints, 2006, and played the role of a drug addict in Richard Linklater's dystopian, Rotoscoped a Scanner Darkly, 2006, and Steven Shainberg's fictional biographical film of Diane Arbus, Fur, 2006, in which Downey's character represented the two biggest influences on Arbus's professional life, Lizette Model and Marvin Israel. 90 Downey also received great notice for his roles in more mainstream fare such as Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and Disney's poorly received The Shaggy Dog, 2006. 91. In November 2004, Downey released his debut musical album, The Futurist, on Sony Classical, for which he designed the cover art and the track listing label on the CD with his son Indio. 92 The album received mixed reviews. 93-94 and Downey stated in 2006 that he probably would not do another album, as he felt that the energy he put into doing the album was not compensated. 95 In 2006, Downey returned to television when he did voice acting on Family Guy in the episode The Fat Guy Strangler. Downey had previously telephoned the show's production staff and asked if he could produce or assist in episode creation, as his son Indio is a fan of the show. The producers of the show accepted the offer and created the character of Patrick Pewterschmidt, Lois Griffin's long-lost, mentally disturbed brother, for Downey. 96. Downey signed on with publisher HarperCollins to write a memoir, which in 2006 was already being billed as a candid look at the highs and lows of his life and career. In 2008, however, Downey returned his advance to the publishers and cancelled the book without further comment. 97 In 2007, Downey appeared in David Fincher's mystery thriller Zodiac, which was based on a true story. He played the role of San Francisco Chronicle journalist Paul Avery, who was reporting on the Zodiac killer case. 98. 2008 to 2019, stardom with Iron Man. Downey at an event for Iron Man in 2008. Despite all of the critical success Downey had experienced throughout his career, he had not appeared in a blockbuster film. That changed in 2008, when Downey starred in two critically and commercially successful films, Iron Man and Tropic Thunder. In the article Ben Stiller wrote for Downey's entry in the 2008 edition of the Time 100, he offered an observation on Downey's commercially successful summer at the box office. Yes, Downey is Iron Man, but he really is actor man. In the realm where box office is irrelevant and talent is king, the realm that actually means something, he has always ruled, and finally this summer he gets to have his cake and let us eat him up all the way to the multiplex, where his mastery is in full effect. Ben Stiller, the 2008 Time 100, entry number 60, Robert Downey Jr. 99. In 2006, Downey was cast as the title character in the 2008 film Iron Man 100, with director Jon Favreau explaining the choice by stating, "Downey wasn't the most obvious choice, but he understood what makes the character tick. He found a lot of his own life experience in Tony Stark." 101. Favreau insisted on having Downey, as he repeatedly claimed that Downey would be to Iron Man what Johnny Depp is to the Pirates of the Caribbean series, a lead actor who could both elevate the quality of the film and increase the public's interest in it. 63 102 103 104 For the role, Downey had to gain more than 20 pounds, 9 kilograms, of muscle in 5 months to look like he had the power to forge iron. 105. Iron Man was released worldwide between April 30th and May 3rd, 2008, grossing over $585 million worldwide 106 and receiving rave reviews that cited Downey's performance as a highlight of the film. 107 108 109 By October 2008, Downey had agreed to star in 2 Iron Man sequels, as part of the Iron Man franchise, as well as The Avengers, 2012, featuring the superhero team that Stark joins, based on Marvel's comic book series The Avengers. 110 He first reprised the role in a small appearance as Iron Man's alter ego Tony Stark in the 2008 film The Incredible Hulk, as a part of Marvel Studios depicting the same Marvel universe on film by providing continuity among the movies. 111. After Iron Man, Downey appeared alongside Ben Stiller and Jack Black in the Stiller-directed Tropic Thunder. The three actors play a Hollywood archetype, with Downey playing self-absorbed multi-Oscar-winning Australian method actor Kirk Lazarus, as they star in an extremely expensive Vietnam-era film called Tropic Thunder. Lazarus undergoes a controversial skin pigmentation procedure in order to take on the role of African-American Platoon Sergeant Lincoln Osiris, which requires Downey to wear dark makeup and a wig. Both Stiller and Downey feared Downey's portrayal of the character could become controversial. Stiller says that he and Downey always stayed focused on the fact that they were skewering insufferable actors, not African Americans. "I was trying to push it as far as you can within reality," Stiller explains. "I had no idea how people would respond to it." Stiller screened a rough cut of the film in March 2008 and it scored high with African Americans. He was relieved at the reaction. "It seems people really embrace it," he said. 112. When asked by Harry Smith on CBS's The Early Show who his model was for Lazarus, Downey laughed before responding, "Sadly, my sorry-ass self." 113. Released in the United States on August 13, 2008, Tropic Thunder received favorable reviews, with 83% of reviews positive and an average normalized score of 71, according to the review aggregator websites Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic, respectively. 114. It earned $26 million in its North American opening weekend and retained the #1 position for its first 3 weekends of release. The film grossed $180 million in theaters before its release on home video on November 18, 2008. Downey was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his portrayal of Lazarus. 116. Opening in late April 2009 was a film Downey finished in mid-2008, The Soloist. The film was delayed from a November 2008 release by Paramount Pictures due to the studio's tight end-of-year release schedule. 117 critics who had seen the film in 2008 were mentioning it as a possible Academy Award candidate. 118 Downey picked up an Academy Award nomination for the 2008 release year for his role in Tropic Thunder. 119. Downey speaking at the 2019 Disney Legends Awards. The first role Downey accepted after Iron Man was Sherlock Holmes in Guy Ritchie's adaptation of Sherlock Holmes. Warner Brothers released it on December 25, 2009. 120 The film set several box office records in the United States for a Christmas Day release, beating the previous record holder, 2008's Marley and Me, by nearly $10 million, and finished second to Avatar in a record-setting Christmas weekend box office. Sherlock Holmes ended up being the 8th highest-grossing film of 2009. 122 When Downey won the Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Motion Picture Musical or Comedy from the Hollywood Foreign Press Association for his role as Sherlock Holmes, he noted in his acceptance speech that he had prepared no remarks because Susan Downey told me that Matt Damon was going to win, so don't bother preparing a speech. 123. Downey returned as Tony Stark in the first of 2 planned sequels to Iron Man, Iron Man 2, which was released in May 2010. Iron Man 2 grossed over $623 million worldwide, becoming the 7th highest-grossing film of 2010. 124 Downey's other commercial film release of 2010 was the comedy road film, Due Date. The movie, co-starring Zach Galifianakis, was released in November 2010. 125 and grossed over $211 million worldwide, making it the 36th highest-grossing movie of 2010. 126 Downey's sole 2011 film credit was Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows, which opened worldwide on December 16, 2011. 127. In 2012, Downey reprised the role of Tony Stark in the Avengers. The film received positive reviews 128 and was highly successful at the box office, grossing $1.52 billion on its way to becoming the third highest grossing film of all time both in the United States and worldwide. 129. His film, the David Dobkin-directed dramedy The Judge. 130. A project co-produced by his production company Team Downey, was the opening film at the 2014 Toronto International Film Festival. 131. Downey played Tony Stark again in Iron Man 3, 2013, 132. Avengers, Age of Ultron, 2015, Captain America, Civil War, 2016, Spider-Man, Homecoming, 2017, 133. Avengers, Infinity War, 2018, and Avengers, Endgame, 2019. 133. Three of his scenes from the Avengers and Avengers Endgame were used as archive footage in the first episode of the Disney Plus series Loki. 134. Downey hosted The Age of AI, a YouTube documentary series released in 2019. 135. 2020, present, Oppenheimer and expansion. In 2020, Downey starred in Dolittle, playing Dr. Dolittle, depicted in the film as a 19th-century Welsh veterinarian who can communicate with animals. This was the second film from Team Downey. It was a box office disappointment and received negative reviews from critics, who called it too long and lifeless. 136. In 2023, Downey portrayed antagonistic bureaucrat Lewis Strauss in Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. He took a pay cut to work on the film, earning $4 million in lieu of his usual $10 to $20 million upfront salary. 137. Downey would later describe Oppenheimer as the best film in which he has appeared to date. 138. The biopic and Downey's performance received critical acclaim. 139. 140. 141. For the role, he won the Golden Globe Award, BAFTA Award, Screen Actors Guild Award, Critics' Choice Award, and Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. 142. Also in 2023, Downey hosted the television series Downey's Dream Cars, where he and his team converted some of Downey's cars from gas to electric. 143. Downey next starred in a 2024 television adaptation of Viet Thanh Nguyen's historical satire novel The Sympathizer on HBO, portraying 5 supporting antagonistic roles representing the American establishment. 144. His multi-role performance earned him an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Limited or Anthology Series or Movie. 145. Downey Jr. made his Broadway debut in McNeil, from playwright Ayad Akhtar, playing Jacob McNeil, a gifted novelist with a difficult family life and a potentially problematic interest in artificial intelligence. Previews began on September 5, 2024, and opened on September 30 at Lincoln Center's Vivian Beaumont Theater, playing a strictly limited engagement through November 24. 146. In July 2024 at San Diego Comic-Con, it was announced that Downey would return to the MCU in a new role as Victor Von Doom/Dr. Doom in the upcoming films Avengers, Doomsday, 2026, and Avengers, Secret Wars, 2027. 147. In the Fantastic Four, First Steps, 2025, Downey makes an uncredited cameo appearance in this role in a mid-credits scene. Other ventures. Music. Downey has sung on several soundtracks for his films, including Chaplin, Too Much Sun, Two Girls and a Guy, Friends and Lovers, The Singing Detective, and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. In 2001, he appeared in the music video for Elton John's song I Want Love. He released a CD in 2004 called The Futurist, and while promoting his film Tropic Thunder, He and his co-stars Ben Stiller and Jack Black were backup singers for the Pips to Gladys Knight singing Midnight Train to Georgia for the season 7 finale of American Idol. 148. Downey's most commercially successful recording venture to date, combining sales and radio airplay, has been his remake of the 1973 Joni Mitchell Christmas song River, which was included on the Ally McBeal tie-in album Ally McBeal, A Very Ally Christmas, released in 2000. Downey's character Larry Paul performs the song in the Ally McBeal episode 'Tis the Season. 149. Downey has collaborated with English musician Sting multiple times. In addition to their duet of The Police's Every Breath You Take in a 2001 episode of Ally McBeal, they also performed Driven to Tears together live at a concert celebrating the artist's 60th birthday in October 2011. 150. Both appear on Jonathan Elias's Prayer Cycle 2, Path to Zero, a benefit album for the anti-nuclear organization Global Zero, which released on May 10, 2011. 151. Business. On June 14, 2010, Downey and his wife Susan opened their own production company called Team Downey. Their first project was The Judge. 152. In 2024, Downey launched a coffee company named Happy with Craig Dubitsky. 153. Personal life. Relationships and marriages. Downey started dating actress Sarah Jessica Parker in 1984 after meeting her on the set of Firstborn. They were both 18 and moved in together after 8 weeks of dating. 154. The couple separated 8 years later, in 1991, due to his drug addiction. 155. Downey married actress and singer Deborah Falconer on May 29, 1992, after a 42-day courtship. 156. They had only known each other for 6 weeks before marrying. 157. Their son was born in September 1993. 158. The strain on their marriage from Downey's repeated trips to rehab and jail finally reached a breaking point. In 1996, Falconer left Downey and filed for divorce in early 2001, citing irreconcilable differences as the reason. 159. Downey and Falconer finalized their divorce in 2004, with Falconer gaining custody of their son. 160. Downey with wife Susan Downey at the 2010 Academy Awards. In 2003, Downey met producer Susan Levin, an executive vice president of production at Joel Silver's film company, Silver Pictures, on the set of Gothica. 87. Though Levin twice turned down his romantic advances, she and Downey did quietly strike up a romance during production. 161. Despite Levin's worries that the romance would not last after the completion of shooting given that he's an actor, I have a real job. 161. The couple's relationship continued after production wrapped on Gothica, and Downey proposed to Levin on the night before her 31st birthday. 161. In August 2005, the couple were married in a Jewish ceremony at Amagansett, New York. 162. 163. A tattoo on one of his biceps reads Susie Q in tribute to her. 164. The Downey's first child, a son, was born in February 2012. 165. And their second, a daughter, was born in November 2014. 166. 167. 168. Downey has been a close friend of Mel Gibson since they starred in Air America. Downey defended Gibson during the controversy surrounding The Passion of the Christ, 2004, and said nobody's perfect in reference to Gibson's 2006 DUI. 169. Gibson said of Downey, he was one of the first people to call and offer the hand of friendship. He just said, "Hey, welcome to the club. Let's go see what we can do to work on ourselves." 170. In October 2011, Downey was honored at the 25th American Cinematheque Awards. Downey chose Gibson to present him with his award for his life's work and used his airtime to say a few kind words about Gibson and explain why he chose him to present the award. 171. Sobriety. Downey says he has been drug-free since July 2003. 172, and credits his wife with helping him overcome his drug and alcohol habits, along with his family, therapy, meditation, 12-step recovery programs, yoga, and the practice of Wing Chun Kung Fu. 72, the martial art he learned from Eric Oram, who is also a fight consultant in several of Downey's movies. 173. 174, Oram was Downey's personal fight coordinator in Avengers, Age of Ultron and Captain America, Civil War. 175, in December 2015, Downey was chosen as one of 91 people to be pardoned by the Governor of California, Jerry Brown, for his prior drug offenses. The pardon does not erase Downey's criminal record, but it does allow him to serve on a jury. 176. 177, Oram wrote a letter in support of Downey's pardon to Governor Brown. 178, when asked on the Oprah Winfrey Show how he was able to make his sobriety stick this time, Downey said, "It's really not that difficult to overcome these seemingly ghastly problems. What's hard is to decide to do it." 179. Downey Jr. with William Chung and Eric Oram, 2005. Religious beliefs. In 2014, Downey has described his religious beliefs as Jewish-Buddhist. 180, in the past, Downey has been interested in Christianity and the Hare Krishna movement. 180. Political views. In a 2008 interview, Downey stated that his time in prison changed his political point of view somewhat, saying, "I have a really interesting political point of view, and it's not always something I say too loud at dinner tables here, but you can't go from a $2,000 a night suite at La Mirage to a penitentiary and really understand it and come out a liberal. You can't. I wouldn't wish that experience on anyone else, but it was very, very, very educational for me and has informed my proclivities and politics ever since." 181. However, when asked about the quote in a 2015 interview to promote Avengers, Age of Ultron, he denied that his previous statement reflected any long-standing beliefs on his part and stated, "I wouldn't say that I'm a Republican or a liberal or a Democrat." 182. Downey has shown support for the Democratic Party. He donated to Barack Obama's presidential campaign in 2012. 183. In 2014, Downey attended a fundraiser for the Democratic Party and donated to the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee. 184. In 2016, Downey appeared in an internet video urging the American public to vote against Donald Trump in the then upcoming presidential election. 185. In 2020, Downey took part in a virtual fundraiser for Joe Biden's presidential campaign, with fellow Avengers actors and vice presidential nominee Kamala Harris. 186. 187. Downey serves on the board of the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, a nonprofit organization that advocates for criminal justice reform to reduce incarceration, improve the outcomes of formerly incarcerated individuals, and build healthier communities. 188. Environmentalism. In January 2020, during the promotion of his film Doolittle, Downey announced that he had made the decision to adopt a vegan diet in response to the debate about the climate crisis, stating that "I'm a one-man carbon footprint nightmare colossus." 189, and believing he can do his part to contribute. Downey previously announced the opening of Footprint Coalition, an organization he launched to reduce carbon footprints around the world using advanced technology. 190. The Footprint Coalition promotes technologies that protect the environment, such as French insect farming startup Insect. 191. The bio-based alternative to plastic manufacturer RWDC. 192. and bamboo toilet paper manufacturer Cloud Paper. 193. 194. In January 2024, Downey stated that he was a pescatarian and had to give up his vegan diet due to low levels of vitamin B12, calcium, and iron. 195. He co-authored Cool Food, Erasing Your Carbon Footprint One Bite at a Time, which advocates a low-carbon plant-based diet to reduce carbon footprints. Gwyneth Kate Paltrow, /Paltrow, born September 27, 1972, is an American actress and businesswoman. The daughter of filmmaker Bruce Paltrow and actress Blythe Danner, she established herself as a leading lady, appearing in primarily mid-budget and period films during the 1990s and early 2000s, before transitioning to blockbusters and franchises. Her accolades include an Academy Award, a Golden Globe Award, and a Primetime Emmy Award. Paltrow gained notice for her early work in films such as Seven, 1995, Emma, 1996, Sliding Doors, 1998, and A Perfect Murder, 1998. She garnered wider acclaim for her role as Viola de Lesseps in the historical romance Shakespeare in Love, 1998, which earned her the Academy Award for Best Actress. This was followed by roles in The Talented Mr. Ripley, 1999, The Royal Tenenbaums, 2001, and Shallow Hal, 2001. She made her West End debut in the David Auburn play Proof, 2003, earning a Laurence Olivier Award for Best Actress nomination, and reprised the role in the 2005 film of the same name. After becoming apparent in 2004, Paltrow reduced her acting workload by making intermittent appearances in films such as Two Lovers, 2008, Country Strong, 2010, and Contagion, 2011. Paltrow's career revived through her portrayal of Pepper Potts in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, from Iron Man, 2008, to Avengers, Endgame, 2019. On television, she had a recurring guest role as Holly Holiday on the Fox musical television series Glee, 2010 to 2011, for which she received the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Guest Actress in a Comedy Series. After starring in the Netflix series The Politician, 2019, she took a break from acting. In 2005, Paltrow became a face of Estee Lauder Companies too. She was previously the face of the American fashion brand Coach. 3. She is the founder and CEO of the lifestyle company Goop, which has been criticized for promoting pseudoscience, and has written several cookbooks. She received a Grammy Award nomination for Best Spoken Word Album for Children for The Brown Bear and Friends, 2009. She hosted the documentary series The Goop Lab for Netflix in 2020. Early life and education. Gwyneth Kate Paltrow was born on September 27, 1972, in Los Angeles, to actress Blythe Danner and film producer-director Bruce Paltrow. 4. She has a younger brother, Jake, who is a director and screenwriter. 5. Paltrow's father was Jewish. 6. While her mother is Christian. 7. She was raised celebrating both Jewish and Christian holidays. 8. Her brother had a traditional bar mitzvah when he turned 13. 9. 10. Her father's Ashkenazi Jewish family emigrated from Belarus and Poland. 11. 12. 13. 14. While her mother has Pennsylvania Dutch, German, as well as some Irish and English ancestry. 15. 16. 17. Paltrow's paternal great-great-grandfather was a rabbi in Novigrad, Poland, and a descendant of the well-known Paltrows family of rabbis from Krakow. 18. 19. Paltrow is a half-cousin of actress Catherine Menig, through her mother, and a second cousin of former U.S. Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, AZ-08, through her father. 20. Giffords' husband is U.S. Senator and retired astronaut Mark Kelly of Arizona. Paltrow's godfather is director Steven Spielberg. 21. 22. Her uncle is opera singer and actor Harry Danner, whose daughter, actress Hilary Danner. 23. is Paltrow.